Over the next few minutes, I will be assessing the efficacy of recovery plans in Australia. Firstly, I will begin by discussing the history of Australia's biodiversity, what a recovery plan is, the strengths and weaknesses of the current recovery plans, and then I will suggest future actions. Australia is a country with high biodiversity, with between 6,000 and 7,000 species, with a high proportion of these being endemic. In fact, Australia is one of 17 megadiverse countries recognised by Conservation International. However, Australia has also had a bad history of extinction. With the highest mammal extinction worldwide at 27 species, Australia has also had 39 plant, 4 frog, 1 invertebrate and 23 bird species go extinct. However, it's not all doom and gloom. There's been 0 recognised fish and reptile extinctions. To combat further species loss, the Australian government developed the Environmental Protection and Biodiversity Conservation Act, which was last amended in 1999. This was developed as a central piece of environmental legislation that was used to list and classify species and environments and provide a legal framework. From the EBC Act, recovery plans were made for species that required them. Recovery plans provide information on taxonomy and environmental needs, as well as threat identification, objectives, criteria for success and failure, and management actions. Now, these current recovery plans do have some strengths. Firstly, they identify species vulnerable to extinction, which allows mitigation actions to be attempted. Secondly, they increase public awareness and involve the local community. Lastly, they facilitate studies on both the species and the environment. Recovery plans also have some weaknesses. Firstly, species suffer from taxonomic bias, with large iconic species getting economic preference over other species regardless of the environmental benefits. Secondly, recovery plans thus far have been economically ineffective, with $2.5 billion spent. In fact, studies by Watson et al. Have found no significant difference in recovery between species with or without recovery plans. Thirdly, recovery plans lack adaptive management, which makes managing a dynamic, ever-changing environment difficult. Finally, they only conserve a fraction of species, with just under half of the threatened species having recovery plans. So where to from here? It is my belief that we need to continue to adopt an ecosystem-based approach to management. And as pointed out in previous studies by Canadian scholars Westwood et al., we need to define the terms recovered and recovery state before we can judge success or failure. Finally, management actions need to be adaptive and able to change when needed. The question still stands: is it worth it? I believe with the right tools and some cooperation, we can continue to develop our recovery plans, switching from more a single species view to ecosystem-based management. This can be done with an adaptive management style, which should see more empirical evidence and hopefully stability or recovery of target species. If you would like to fact check or are interested in learning more, you will find the references in the comments below.